Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today going to talk about a little bit of news outside of the film sessions going on with the Chicago Bears, including Colin Kaepernick, Nick Kwiatkoski, and Cam Newton. So, before we get started, just a reminder, all Bears fans, agree or disagree, we all want the Bears to win. Check out the Patreon campaign if you enjoy the content and a subscriber. Consider supporting the channel financially. That's in the description section. Also, click the bell, even if you are a subscriber and you want to be updated and notified when new videos drop. Click the little bell icon in the video or at the bottom of the video as well. So, all that being said, let's start it off with Cam Newton. So, I already made my feelings and thoughts clear on Cam Newton and kind of the other people as well. But recently there was the whole report, quote unquote, that Cam Newton said he would accept a trade to the Chicago Bears. Number one, Cam Newton, as far as we know, does not have a no trade clause. So doesn't really mean a whole bunch, to be honest with you, because if they get to the point where they can trade him or where they want to trade him, then he'll have to go wherever he's going to go. And so there's that. But if this is all, true, whatever, doesn't really excite me that much. I mean, okay, I'm fine with it. I've talked about Cam Newton, and I do think it would be an interesting move. But honestly, as much as we continue to talk about quarterbacks, and we'll talk about another quarterback, I'm not over the moon right now about getting a quarterback like everybody else is. Not to say that, I've already said 100 times that I don't believe Trubisky's future is here. So if you still hear me say that, then I'm not sure, you're not comprehending English. So, so it's not that I'm saying Trubisky needs to be the quarterback, but I'm not over the hill with trying to go for broke with a quarterback. It'd be different if for whatever reason you had a chance to get a legit, top tier quarterback, but that's not the case right now. People are digging at the bottom of the barrel, as I mentioned in that other video. And so people are trying to rewrite history to be excited about quarterbacks. And I think Cam Newton definitely has talent, and it'd be interesting to see what Nagy will do if he had better talent at quarterback. And not even, I wouldn't say better talent, but if he didn't have to put the, training wheels and hold the hand as much with the quarterback. So that would be interesting to see someone with veteran presence, veteran awareness, has had multiple offenses and has pretty good talent. That would be interesting, but I'm not over the moon about trying to go get Cam Newton or talking about trading for Cam Newton. So all that, is just kind of headlines right now. It's cool, whatever. He said he would play for Chicago. Okay, cool. And I'm not even sure he said that. I haven't looked into the reports. I've seen it going around, but again, you want to read that stuff to see what actually was said and who is the source. But again, if it is true, so what? I mean, I'm not going, not going to jump up and down for that. I do personally think that there is a number of ways we could go with it. But honestly, I'm not in the mindset that we're just one quarterback away from being a dominant team. I think we would definitely be a lot more dangerous. I think we're a pretty competitive team now, as I mentioned before. With a better quarterback, we would be more dangerous, but I don't think it's just bring in Cam Newton and we're going to the Super Bowl easily. I don't think that's how that works, so not too super excited. Colin Kaepernick, might as well talk about that next. I've talked about Colin personally before. I believe it was on this channel. I've talked about that on the editorial, but overall, the news that Colin Kaepernick is getting a workout and teams are going to be able to be there and the NFL's hosting it. And so there's supposedly teams that's interested in him. Now, even before this, there's a lot of back and forth about Colin Kaepernick between Bears fans and about who they want and blah, blah, blah. And I've made myself clear from the very beginning as far as Colin Kaepernick. Uh, part the biggest part in him not playing in the NFL is because he wasn't a great quarterback. And there's some people completely wrapped up in the cause that just kind of do a corrective revisionist history and act like he was better than he was. And then there's people wrapped up in fighting against the cause that they completely rewrite history and act like he was a worse quarterback than he was. The truth is in the middle. As I said at the time, if that was Cam Newton at that time that was taking the knee, we wouldn't have none of these discussions. Cam would be right where he was. And so it was a point where Colin Kaepernick was a little bit expendable because he wasn't as talented. And so he was able to be sacrificed. Now, if it was a top tier star, as I mentioned, that'd be a different conversation. And so for me, I've always understood the line of this isn't all about the cause, but it is a good amount about the cause as well. And so I still see the thing that gets me is that the people that still are either trying to make it about what he did or they're trying to disguise that they're making it about what he did by saying, oh, Trubisky's better. Now, honestly, I don't get into comparing quarterbacks for a reason. But even on top of that, we haven't seen Kaepernick play in a while. I don't know what he's been doing with his time off. And so everybody, again, and I've said this many times before, people are so ready and confident to tell you who's good and who's not. And yet they have no track record. All they do is sway with the wind. As soon as somebody has good stats, well, they're good now. Oh, now they suck. Oh, he's a bust. Oh, I guess he's not a bust. And they don't know. So I'm not going to listen to anybody sitting here telling me what Trubisky is versus Colin Kaepernick. And I can tell you, if I don't know, then nobody else knows as far as fans. And the NFL doesn't know because that's why they're having a workout. We don't know what he's been doing in that meantime. And so I'm not going to sit here and say and believe anybody that's just flat out, oh, no, I don't want him because I think he's not a good quarterback. But yet you want Chase Daniel starting. Those are the same people saying that. So, again, those are the two things that annoy me. If you don't understand by now what the cause and the movement was for, then you're just either willfully ignorant or you're just in hatred against it. So it's one of those two things. And so for me, those are neither ever going to be excuses not to look at Colin Kaepernick. As I said, I'm not that excited about Cam, Teddy, definitely not Colin Kaepernick, any of these quarterbacks. I don't care about any of these. But if we're having the discussion about should we or should we not, a lot of these people are making reasons that just don't hold water. And so at this point in the season, I don't think we're going to get him. And even if we did for whatever reason, I don't think he'd be any threat to Trubisky as the starter. And honestly, Chase is capable as a backup, so I don't see a reason we would need to get him. But if we're talking about the conversation of getting him, some of these people are clearly just being very bigoted. So, lastly, Nick Kwiatkoski, a current Chicago Bear. I seen some discussion. So I gave him MVP for the defense in our win on Sunday. I bigged him up. I did a player profile on him a few times. I've always liked Nick Kwiatkoski. Here's the weird thing. I see a lot of people talking about he should have been the starter and he needs to stay the starter. And that caught me by surprise. Like, I get it. People see stats and they go crazy. they're like, oh man, he had a sack and an interception and these tackles. And he had a great game. I gave him MVP. Definitely had a great game. But it's just like these people come out of woodworks. I told you he should have always been the starter. And as I said in my recap, Nick Kwiatkoski has ability that Roquan doesn't, and Trevathan to an extent. But they both have a lot of ability that he doesn't. And so it's just, with any player, it's pros and cons. And against the Detroit Lions backup quarterback, I think he was definitely more than serviceable. But when you're talking about a true air attack, Nick Kwiatkoski would 100% become a liability. And so he gets an interception on the diving play, and then people are like, told you he could cover. Nick's not a dumb guy. He's very smart, but he's just not athletic as the other people, and that, unfortunately, is the name of the game right now. So, do I feel comfortable with him starting in the meantime? Yes. Do I hope Danny Trevathan comes back? Yes. And am I going to argue with these people that said Nick should start? I'm not going to push against you too much. The only thing I would ask you is, what does he have that Trevathan doesn't? Now, if Roquan got hurt, and you had Trevathan and Nick Kwiatkoski, okay, I can understand that conversation. We've had those two before. But Trevathan, to me, is hands down better than Roquan. And so you're telling me that Nick should keep a starting job over Trevathan, then I would just ask you, what is it that you see that he has over those two linebackers? Because if he's better than the best linebacker of the two, then you're telling me he's the best linebacker in the group. And I would just like to ask, why do you feel that way? Because I'd be interested to know. Because I personally don't think Nick does anything outside of maybe defeat blocks that Trevathan can't do. And I don't think he's as smart as Trevathan. So there's that. And so definitely happy. I've always been happy we had him. I think he's a core special teamer. And, I've talked about Nick many times. So I'm happy with that. But it was just weird to see so many people just like, finally, Nick should have been starting this whole time. So I'm just curious, if you feel that way, just let me know why. All right. So anyway, with all that being said, that's it for today. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about all that. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. I already said share it around. But remember, stay up and bear down.